Then I turned to National Review Online. Actually, somebody sent me this. I didn't turn to them, but still. Brendan Bordelon. Or Bordelon, sorry. How 5 Senate Republicans let Congress keep its fraudulent Obamacare subsidies. This is their headline. Healthcare experts call it DC insiderism at its worst. The rumors began trickling in about a week before the scheduled vote on April 23. What are you talking about? Stay with me. Republican leadership was quietly pushing senators to pull support for subpoenaing Congress's fraudulent application to the District of Columbia's health exchange. So somebody on behalf of the United States Congress filed a fraudulent application to the Washington, D.C. Health Exchange because members and their staff are on the Washington, D.C. Health Exchange. So the application was fraudulent. And the Republican leadership was quietly pushing senators to oppose support for subpoenaing the application and any information about it. The document was the document that facilitated Congress's exemption from Obamacare, allowing lawmakers and staffers to keep their employer subsidies. Allowing them to keep their employer subsidies. So, a fraudulent application was filed with the Washington Health Exchange on behalf of the United States Congress. The fraudulent application ensured that members of Congress and their staffers could keep their employer subsidies. That is, you're subsidizing them. The Republican leadership opposed subpoenaing this application and the records. More when I return. So the application, as Brendan Bordelon at the National Review writes, said Congress employed just 45 people. Remember what we're talking about here. Members of Congress and their staff receive subsidies from the federal government for their health care. So in order to come under that subsidy requirement, somebody filed on behalf of the entire United States Congress a fraudulent application to the Washington, D.C. Health Exchange. The application said Congress employed only 45 people. The names were faked. One employee was listed as first, last, another simply as Congress. Now, to Small Business Committee Chairman David Vitter, who has fought for years against the Obamacare exemption for members of Congress and their staff, it was clear someone in Congress falsified the document in order to make lawmakers and their staff eligible for taxpayer subsidies provided under the exchange for small business employees. Well, Congress is not a small business. But until Vitter got a green light from the Small Business Committee to subpoena the unredacted application from the District of Columbia Health Exchange, they couldn't figure out who filed the false application on behalf of Congress. So when Senator Vitter of Louisiana asked Republicans on his own committee, he's chairman of the Small Business Committee, to approve the subpoena so he could issue it and get the document, he was stonewalled. 9 Democrats on the committee, that's all of them, lined up against the proposal. Well, we'd expect that from the goose-stepping Democrats trying to obviously protect Harry Reid or somebody. But the chairman needed the support of all 10 Republicans, 10-9 on the committee, in order to get the authority to issue a subpoena. So it seems an issue tailor-made for Tea Party star and Republican presidential candidate Rand Paul. Rand Paul refused to lend his support to the effort. And when Senator Vitter said a public vote for April 23, Majority Leader Mitch McConnell and his leadership team decided to get involved. For whatever reason, leadership decided they wanted that vote to be 5-5, all Republicans, to give Senator Paul cover, one high-ranking committee staffer tells National Review. So they worked at a member level to change the votes of otherwise supportive senators. And here's the 4 senators who voted against the subpoena, against uncovering the fraud. Some of them you're just going to be disappointed in. One in particular. Mike Enzi, fraud from Wyoming. James Reich, fraud from Idaho. Kelly Ayotte, fraud from New Hampshire. And here's the heartbreaker. Senator Deb Fischer of Nebraska. They'd all promised to support Vitter, but they changed their minds after McConnell or his surrogates contacted them. Quote, the amount of blood that McConnell and Paul spilled to prevent the subpoena from happening makes me wonder if maybe that isn't all that is there, said a high-ranking staffer. Senate staffers, according to a top committee aide, reported seeing Missouri Senator Ray Blunt. Missouri, this guy is so pathetic. Ray Blunt made calls to at least 2 Republican committee members, lobbying them at McConnell's direction to vote no on subpoenaing the exchange. By the time the committee was called to quorum, Enzi, Reich, Ayotte, and Fisher voted no. Senator Vitter, who was stunned, was denied the power to subpoena the application to find out who filed it fraudulently. Many observers, it was curious that any Republican would move to put the brakes on an investigation into Obamacare fraud, particularly curious that they would pull back in an instance when the federal government was actually defrauding itself. One that so clearly illustrates Obamacare's flaws by exposing the bureaucratic jiu-jitsu and outright dishonesty required of federal employees themselves to navigate the law. Conservative healthcare experts can't understand the reasoning behind the GOP opposition to the subpoena. They see politics and self-interest at play. They allege that Republican leaders are as invested as their Democrat counterparts in maintaining their personal subsidies fraudulently obtained, while avoiding scrutiny from an overwhelmingly disapproving American public. We deserve to know who signed that application because they're robbing the taxpayers, says Michael Cannon, director of the Health Policy Studies at the Libertarian Cato Institute. The staffers who signed the fraudulent application, he says, know who was directing them to do this. And so we have to follow the trail of breadcrumbs. This is the next breadcrumb. And whomever is farther up the trail wants to stop Vitter right now. I'll tell you what happened, ladies and gentlemen. It's quite obvious. The congressional leadership, Democrats and Republicans, were in on this. They committed fraud. They filed a false application. There are more than 45 employees at the United States Congress. It's not a small business. But they wanted their subsidies, their federal subsidies. They didn't want to be part of Obamacare. And Senator Vitter stood up, and he was undermined by Mitch McConnell. The same Mitch McConnell who's delivering Obama fast track against free trade and for Obama. The same Mitch McConnell who has surrendered the power of the purse. Yeah, I'm just starting to wonder if there's some kind of blackmailing or something going on here. I have to say, I have to be honest, this is just so irrational. As bad as the Republicans are from a principled point of view, to surrender issue after issue and now to participate in a cover-up, something is wrong. Something is wrong beyond politics, beyond principles, even beyond cronyism. Something is wrong. Something's going on. Something's going on. And Benedict Arnold, Mitch McConnell, once again, is at the center of it. Once again, he's at the center of it. The story of the ill-fated subpoena can be tracked back to the debate over the Affordable Care Act when Senator Chuck Grassley insisted lawmakers and congressional staff join a health care exchange set up under the bill. For government employees, that meant giving up government-subsidized health care contributions of between $5,000 and $10,000 per person. The White House scrambled to find a way to allow congressional employees to keep those subsidies, and in Washington, D.C., only the Small Business Exchange allowed them to do so. After secret meetings with House Speaker John Boehner in 2013, Obama instructed the Office of Personnel Management to allow Congress to file for classification as a small business, despite the fact that the law defines a small business as having no more than 50 employees. And the House and Senate together employ tens of thousands of employees. So when Vitter's staffers tracked down the application and discovered obvious signs of fraud, Vitter requested approval to subpoena an unredacted copy of the application. The value of that document, says the Cato Institute's canon, is that it would reveal the name of the person who filed it. Now you've got someone to call to testify, he says, predicting that testimony would precipitate a congressional vote on whether to end the congressional exemption altogether. They blocked the subpoena at the direction of Mitch McConnell. Some congressional Republicans are also resistant to getting to the bottom of the mystery. At the very least, they're content to letting sleeping dogs lie. Committee rules for a subpoena require either the consent of the ranking member or a majority of the group's 19 senators. Because Democrats quickly made their opposition clear, Vitter needed the approval of all 10 Republicans. 9 of them quickly consented via email. 1 senator was strangely unresponsive. Senior committee aides say that Rand Paul's staff didn't immediately reply to an email requesting the senator's consent. And when they did, they refused to provide it. In my humble opinion, Rand Paul was doing McConnell's dirty work because, as you all know, those two are very, very close. If I'm wrong, Rand Paul should come on and explain himself, as should the other 4 Republicans, as should Mitch McConnell, as should Roy Blunt. When Vitter attempted to set up a member-to-member meeting, his overtures were ignored or put off. Rand Paul's policy staff refused to take a meeting. When Vitter tried to confront Paul on the Senate floor, they say the Kentucky senator skirted the issue. It wasn't until after the vote that Paul shared his reasoning. Senator Paul opposes allowing Congress to exempt themselves from any legislation, and they told the Conservative Review. To that end, yesterday, he reintroduced his proposed constitutional amendment to prohibit Congress from passing any law that exempts itself. Senator Paul prefers this option over a partisan cross-examination of congressional staff. It's not one or the other. And we're a long ways from a congressional initiative for a constitutional amendment. That's absurd, says Robert Moffat, the director of the Center for Health Policy Studies at the Conservative Heritage Foundation. You don't need a constitutional amendment to get a subpoena. I don't know where he's coming from. Over at Cato, Cannon says of Paul, the answers he has given do not make any sense. And when someone with his principles does something that is so obviously against his principles and doesn't give an adequate explanation, you begin to think that politics is afoot. Politics is afoot. It's called Mitch McConnell, and he's more than a foot. He's a butt. B-U-T-T.